Okay, let's get going. You're going to offer us today's word of the day, I guess. Why and what is it? Fire. Because, in my opinion, the IT industry is going to be exploding not just as we approach the end of the year this week, but also as the AI revolution enters its next stage. Furthermore, I believe that the fourth industrial revolution is just getting started. Okay, it's still the beginning, but you usually insist that it's 9 o'clock, so it must be 9:30. No, I did say it, and I've said it now. The ad party lasts from 9:30 to 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Okay, so there are some advancements in the field, particularly in the software area concerning artificial intelligence. Actually, Elastic is one of them, and Snowflake is the other. We've had the good fortune to have the CEO on the program. They do cloud and security, so it's a bit of a broad-based play. Why these two names? As we have discussed on the podcast, I believe that the second derivative, the AI software component, is now available. In my opinion, that will be crucial in 2025. In terms of software use cases, you look at Elastic, Snowflake, and names like MongoDB. These are the ones that currently file names like Palantir. The software AI era, in my opinion, has arrived. That will be the main focus in 2025. 578 billion every quarter, which many people believe could only be a few billion. As all of this unfolds and you begin to examine the numbers over the course of the next, let's say, 12 to 18 months, Jensen and Nvidia, the godfather of AI, remain on that Mount Rushmore, and it simply indicates that Nvidia is now at the forefront. Derivatives 2, 3, and 4 are being played out. That's why this AI party is from 9:30 to 10 p.m. We are discussing a price element that has the potential to generate billions of dollars in income in the future. Upon seeing that this amounts to $75, you would think, oh, it's expensive. In 3 or 4 years, I wonder if Palantir will emerge as the next SAP, Salesforce, or Oracle. I believe that's what we're discussing. As a result, the bears will emerge from their hibernation to discuss valuation and other topics. Do regulators support one of these names, or do they have no opinion? In fact, I believe it's optimistic because, in an RV where TH will be out, FTC will play a big role in closing deals. These businesses are going to launch an offensive, in my opinion. However, you will also have a significant amount of M&A from both financial and strategic actors. Software has underperformed as a result. However, I believe that in 2025, we will sit here and declare, software is fire. Because this is only the beginning of what I see to be the AI revolution's 9:30 to 10 p.m. $2 trillion in AI capital expenditures are at issue. They were now on the velvet ropes behind hyperscalers from Microsoft and Nvidia. You know, software says, let us into the party. The celebration has arrived. The celebration has arrived. Now let's discuss Nvidia. According to an article in The Information, Nvidia could establish a cloud computing company that could compete with Amazon Web Services. According to the chipmaker, software and cloud services might eventually bring in $150 billion. According to CEO Jensen Huang, the company is expected to make $2 billion a year from the sale of software alone, and cloud and AI software will become a very big market in the future. Amazon, the industry leader in cloud computing for many years, would face significant challenges if they decide to enter the cloud market. I think that around 20% of Amazon's total revenue comes from Amazon Web Services, with a large amount of that coming from the cloud. They and Nvidia have had a sort of competition relationship. I'm eager to watch the claw emerge if they do begin eating their food. However, Amazon intends to develop its own AI chips and may eventually stop purchasing as many Nvidia chips. Seeing that push and pull is therefore fascinating. The second aspect of this narrative, Maddie, that simply intrigues me is that it's a classic investor tale of a business expanding as it provides a product, isn't it? Everyone wants the highly successful AI chips that Nvidia has created. How does Nvidia track the client along that path? You do consider Apple and the iPhone, don't you? We got all of these fantastic things from Apple. What did they ultimately develop into one of their main business segments? The services company, isn't it? After you utilize the product, they kind of walk through the customer journey with you and keep selling you items. That is somewhat different from Nvidia's AI chips, which are much more complex and B2B. Okay, everyone bought our chips. How do we become a part of the next version of AI? Is a good analogy, in my opinion. Earlier last hour, we discussed how the focus has shifted from infrastructure to what do we do with this. One of the most important components of that next step is cloud services. Okay, maybe AI chip demand isn't the entire part of the investor story. You begin to say if Nvidia can indeed make $150 billion in revenue from this in the long run. Because I believe that the question has been, what about when everyone has enough chips? For the majority of the past 18 months. Correct. That concludes the conversation. Therefore, if we hear more about this on future earnings calls, perhaps the conversation will start to change a bit. And $150 billion. I think AWS's cloud business brings in around $100 billion. We think we're going to beat the biggest guy in the room here too. They would also be saying, which is intriguing going forward. Simply put, I think it will be interesting to see. As you say, Nvidia has already somewhat transformed itself several times. They began as a manufacturer of video game chips. They are now this AI behemoth. Will they grow to be a major cloud player as well? We'll see if they can pull it off, because they have a lot of competition. They face fierce competition in a wide range of areas, don't they? Perhaps your answer is to zig a little bit and have other revenue streams that can also pick up if you have the chip competition that we'd have been discussing for the past several weeks. It's definitely not a story for tomorrow, but it's something to keep an eye on, particularly if you want to stay onto Nvidia for the long haul. Additionally, the shift away from that semiconductor story and toward other revenue streams can be quite alluring. Additional information about Broadcom, which has been our late-stage FOMO's most prominent name, in my opinion. This is the network's new markets correspondent, Deirdre Kinghall. What a few sessions we have witnessed in Broadcom shares, to be honest, Diane. I mean, seeing it has been amazing. The general weakness we've observed in the remaining semifinals and some of these AI-tight victories has, to be honest, been greatly alleviated by it. Objectively speaking, though, they're enjoying an incredible year. Explain some of the analyst jargon for us today. With the adjustments made, this keeps your original script's precise length and purpose. Well. Additionally, this amusing statistic, in my opinion, demonstrates how active the retail investing community is still in these markets. This year, self-directed retail investors brought in a net new inflow of $265 billion into U.S. markets. That is roughly $25 billion, less than the average for the previous 3 years. However, there is a substantial number of retail investors who are actively participating in this market, attempting to better their lives and financial circumstances, and who may not be very concerned about some of the values on these firms. Will they be worried next year? To be ascertained. This article also discusses a significant change in the perspectives of some individual investors. From meme stocks and the momentum trade, we've moved on to firms with solid fundamentals and a longer time horizon. We're not simply trying to get in on the trend. We're trying to be long-term investors. You enter various fund manager questionnaires for this reason. Where is the busiest trading at the moment? MAG. Long MAG. That essentially just provides you a better idea of how the retail investor has changed in the short term and how that is somewhat reflecting the changes we have observed from many institutions throughout 2024. Special thanks to individual investors. I adore you all. I adore you. Okay, let's begin with Nvidia itself first. On the surface, you would think that, well, it's Nvidia, 8.25% seems pretty fair. But the implied move for tonight's earnings is around 8.5%. The average change over the last 5 quarters, as we and I look back, was 7%. 8% then? Reasonable. But if you go a little deeper into those figures, you'll see that in February, when the stock was 67, you had a 16% spike in 2 of those quarters. The stock is available today.